In this video, we're going to take a look at creating a retro or vintage style picture. Now, the image I found on a superb photo website called Pixabay. Now, I'll put a link below both to the website and to the image so you can download it and you can work along with the video. But don't forget, give the author a thumbs up and also perhaps buy him a cup of coffee. Right, let's make a start. Now, the first thing we're going to do is make the image look as if it were taken with an old film camera. So what we're going to do is we're going to soften it slightly. We're going to add some noise or grain to the picture, and then perhaps just a little bit of lens distortion. Now, what I like to do first of all is just duplicate the background layer. So I'm going to use Command J or Control J to do that. Right, let's soften the picture a little bit by coming to Filter. We're going to go down to Blur. We're going to come across to Gaussian blur, and I did say a little bit, so let's bring this right the way down into this sort of area here. Just taking a look at it there. I've got the preview set, so if I just switch it off and on, you can see the difference that's making. That looks pretty good. And if you just look here, click down, you get the original, and the photographers really captured the eyes lovely there, and that headscarf as well, the details absolutely superb. Just bringing it, yeah, it softens it down. We're going to click OK to that. Next, for the noise or grain, just look how smooth it is here in the paintwork. We're going to come up to Filter. We're going to go to the Filter Gallery. Now with Filter Gallery, let's come down to Texture. Here you'll find Grain. Now with Grain, we've got Regular. I'm going to leave it like that for the moment. I'm going to zoom in, so I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose 100% so we can see it clearly. Coming to the intensity, I'm going to drop the intensity down into this area here. I'm going to change the grain type now to soft. Yeah, I think that looks better there. Just switching this off and on. You can see the way the texture is showing there, that grain is showing in the paintwork. Perhaps just a tiny bit more, perhaps 16. That'll do nicely. Clicking OK to that. Right, lens distortion. Filter. Distort is a bit of a clue, and coming across we're going to use Spherize. Now when Spherize opens, it's a little bit close there, so let's come to the 100%. We're going to change that to 25%, so we zoomed out, and you can see at the default, yeah, really bulbous, and you can see there it is there. If I just drop this down, notice the way the grid is getting closer. We're going to take it just past the 0 into the -3, 4, a little bit of a concave look. Just clicking down, releasing it, that looks good. Clicking OK, and there it is. Just switching this off and on, you can see the difference we're making to the image already. For the next stage, color. We're going to start off by adding a solid color layer. So we're going to go to the adjustment layers. We're going to go to solid color. Now we're not going to use black. Instead, we're going to click. I'm going to lift this up. I want to use a bit of an orangey red color, taking it into this area here. Let's bring the cursor in then and just clicking down around this position here will do nicely, perhaps just up a little bit. Clicking on OK. Now to allow us to see the image below, we're going to change the blend mode to soft lights. I like the tones we've added to the picture, but perhaps just a little bit too bright, so we're going to go back to the adjustment layer, this time to hue saturation. We're going to take the overall saturation down, not by that amount, we're going to take it by just backing it up slightly. There will do. What have we got? We've got -24. Now with older pictures, older color pictures, the reds tended to be much darker. So let's come to the channel. I'm going to select red. I said darker, so anything to do with brightening, lightening is going to come the lightness area here. So I'm going to drop this down into, let's just have a look. I'm taking it there, looks pretty good. What have we got? -24. Now the skin tones also darken down. If we have a look down here, that's the color we've selected, but it goes from there into the magentas, slightly into the magentas. The other direction it comes into the oranges. If I just bring this in, look at the way we can change those skin tones, bringing it into this area here. That looks better. Right, the color of the truck. I'm not sure I particularly like this, so let's change it to cyan. At least I think it's cyan, so we're going to pick up the target tool here, clicking down. No, it's called green too. Right, now with this, let's just bring this into this position here, just desaturating it slightly. Going to take the brightness up. That's starting to look better. Just perhaps pushing it a little bit more. Yeah, like the way that is. Just switching this off and on, you can see the difference we're making to the image. I'm going to close that down. Next, we're going to add a vignette to the picture. Now we're going to start off by selecting the marquee tool, and I don't want the elliptical marquee tool. Instead, I'm going to change it to the rectangular marquee tool. Right, clicking down on our image, I'm going to drag it out over this sort of area here. Will do nicely. Back up to the adjustment layer. We're going to come down to the hue saturation, and I'm going to take the saturation up. We're going to make a light vignette, so taking it into this area here will do nicely. Closing that down, we got hard edges. We have also got the lighter part on the inside, whereas we really want it on the outside. So if we come to filter, adjustment, stay, we can go to invert. Command I or Control I is the shortcut for that to deal with the hard edges. Filter, blur, going to go back to Gaussian blur. Let's click on that hard edge there, the top corner, and if we take this right up into, just dropping it back into that area, will do nicely. We're going to click on OK. Next, how about adding a light leak? Now we're going to put in a new empty layer. I'm going to rename it. It's called layer 2. I'm going to click down. We're going to call it lights, so we know exactly what's on this layer, light leak. And we're going to come across, we're going to pick up the gradient tool. Under tool options, we're going to go to gradient editor, and we're going to change it to the orange, yellow, orange. Now making a few changes to the colors. We're going to click on the end color. This is the location for the 100%. I'm going to click on the bin. We have now deleted it. We're going to click on the color stop for the yellow. Going to move that to the 100% position. But we're going to change this color. So coming over to the little window there with color, clicking down, we've now got our color picker. Now with the color for this, what I'm going to do is just drop it down very slightly. So we're going to click on the slider, bringing this down into this sort of position. Just looking at the color on the bar, as it were, going across. There looks pretty good. And if I just bring this out and down into that area, that's just the sort of color I'm after. So we're going to click on OK. Next, I want to make this color a little bit darker. So we're going to click on the color stop. We're going to click here to bring up our color picker. And I'm just going to bring this down into this sort of area. Something like that would be pretty good. You can see that was the current. That's the new color. Let's click on OK. We're going to click on OK there. And one more change. Come into the marquee tool. Keeping the rectangular marquee tool, but this time we're going to feather it by, I'm going to take it to approximately 40 pixels. Will do nicely. Clicking just to remove it. Right, dragging it out into this position, releasing it. As we release it, notice the way the corners have rounded off. That is because we feathered it. We're going to pick up the gradient tool. The gradient tool has those colors we've selected for our light leak, bringing it into this area. And there it is, there's our light leak. Well, should I say the start of it. So let's go to select, deselect, Command D or Control D is the shortcut. We're going to come across to the blend modes. We're going to change the blend mode to screen. That looks a better light leak. Right, if we pick up the move tool, because it's on its own layer, we can move this anywhere in the picture. But I'm going to bring it into this position here. You can also make it bigger or smaller. But if you come to image, transform, free transform, and there it is. You can now stretch it out, or you can pull it in a little bit shorter. Let's just reposition it. There will do. Double clicking to apply. How about finishing off with a border or framework? Now we're going to put in a new empty layer again. We're going to double click. We're going to call this what it's going to be, which is a frame. Coming over to the toolbox, we're going to click on the black. We're going to change this to white, but I don't want a bright white. Instead, I want a little bit of a creamy white. So let's bring this up into this position here and just clicking across a little bit, taking it into that area. I'm looking at the new so I can see the color in. Something there will do nicely. We're now going to click on OK, and you can see in the toolbox, there it is against the white. That's just the sort of color I'm after. Next, we're going to come up to edit. We're going to go down to fill layer. Now we're going to fill it using the foreground color, which is that creamy color. We're going to click on OK. Now this is a solid color. Now I want to give this a little bit of texture, a little bit of noise to it. So we're going to go to filter. We're going to come down to noise. stay. We're going to go across to add noise. Now with add noise, I've got the Gaussian, I've got the monochromatic, I've got 1.95. That looks really good. I like that. So I'm just going to click OK. So it's 1.95% is the amount we're using. We can't see the picture, which is not very good where a framework is concerned. So let's pick up the custom shape tool. We're going to come down to tool options. We're going to pick up the round rectangular tool. It is a radius of 40 pixels is the default. I'm going to leave it like that. Coming out into the image, I'm going to click down. We're going to drag it out. So start to drag it out. You're now starting to see the shape that we're using for this framework, this border, taking it into that sort of area there, perhaps down a little bit more on the bottom, releasing it. In goes the shape tool layer. Bring your cursor over the thumbnail. Press and hold down Command or Control. Notice the way the cursor changes. It now gets a little square on the back. Clicking down, we have a selection. Switch off the visibility. Click on the frame layer. That selection has now gone down to this layer, and if you press delete on the keyboard, there it is. Don't forget that shortcut we used, Command D or Control D to deselect. We can click on our shape layer. We can now press delete or click on the little bin. That's going to say, you sure you want to delete shape 1? Just click yes, and there it is. There is our finished image. Everything with this is completely adjustable, so save it in layers. That way you can come back, you can make any changes. For example, clicking on the lightly layer, I'm going to press V on the keyboard, which is going to give me the move tool. Just going to move that over very slightly into that direction. There, let's just take a look with the vignette. You can click on it, you can make it into perhaps a dark vignette, but I think the light vignette works better with this image. Leaving it like this. If I come down, let's have a quick run through. Pressing the Alt or the Option key, click on the little visibility icon there for our background layer. There is our start image, looking really crisp, looking really new and digital. If we click on this, a little bit of a film look with that grain, softening it off slightly, a little bit of lens distortion as well. Start of our colors, our tones, just taking those colors and tones down a little bit before adding a vignette. There is our lightly. There is our framework. If I just right click, we're going to put this onto a black background. I'm going to press Tab on the keyboard. That removes all the panels. Using Command 0 Control 0 goes to fit on screen. So go on, give it a try. I hope you've enjoyed the video. But until the next time, it is happy imaging and take care.